Hi, today we're going to take a look at an LED emergency light from NXLED. Now you may have seen these in the past in shopping malls, in fire exits and places like that, mainly commercial businesses. But more recently they've started to become common in people's homes, especially as brownouts start to become more common. People are worried about falling, about bumping into things, about intruders. So these kind of emergency lights are starting to transition from the commercial world to the residential world. Now you might have seen these and not fully understood how they actually work. Basically they're always plugged into the power, so that's why you'll see they're always mounted up high and usually plugged into a power socket or wired directly in. And what happens is when there's a power cut, let's simulate a power cut by removing the power, they automatically turn on. So if this was in a hallway or a fire exit or something like that, and then the building has a power cut, the light is going to automatically turn on and give, usually anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours of illumination, which means people can safely exit the building or do whatever they need to do. Now, one thing to mention is that this light might not look too bright on the camera because I have my main light on, I have my video lights, so of course they're not going to appear very bright. And at the same time, they're not too bright. They're not going to be like a floodlight. They're really just meant to offer enough illumination that you can safely move around. I actually find it bright enough that you can do, pretty much everything you'd want to do in quite a big area. They're pretty bright once, there's a complete blackout, and all you've got is this. You'd be surprised at how bright it actually is. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a warning that it might not appear too bright on the camera. Now, if we look at the box, it has some important specifications. Unlike the older style ones of these, which use halogen bulbs, which really waste a lot of power, or even the more modern ones that use the CFL bulbs, this is LED, which means you're going to get a lot more hours of light from the same battery. And talking about the battery, it used to be in these that you would see a 12-volt battery or a 6-volt, and now the trend seems to be 4-volt. So this is a 4-volt, 4-amp-hour battery, and I've also seen that in other LED emergency lights. And the problem with that is they're not very common batteries. If I go to Ace Hardware or Handyman or Wilco or somewhere like that, I can find 12-volt batteries, I can find 6-volt batteries, but I haven't yet seen the 4-volt replacement batteries for these. So the stores are going to have to start stocking those because these are becoming more popular, and soon enough people are going to want to start replacing the batteries because over a number of years the battery life diminishes and you have to replace it. So you can see here it says LED 2 times 1.5 watts. We have 1.5 watts here, 1.5 watts here, and then it says power consumption 4 watts. Now I would assume that means that there's a little bit of loss somewhere in the circuit, so that's why it says 4 watts instead of the expected 3 watts, but we're going to measure the power consumption later anyway. Input voltage 100 AC to 240 volt AC, so pretty much anywhere in the world you can use this. Emergency time of 7 hours, which means you should be able to get 7 full hours with this on full brightness, although you don't have any setting to turn them on or off individually. I would have liked to see switches here so you can use just 1 or 2, because when I was testing this I actually found it so bright that I wanted to modify this so that only one of them would be on, because I didn't need both of them, to be honest. It says charging time 48 hours. I'm not sure how accurate that is because it's only a 4-volt 4-amp-hour battery. Does it really take 48 hours? But anyway, for the purpose of this review I have left it charging for over a week, so we know this battery is fully charged. And it says it outputs up to 168 lumens, which seems pretty bright. I mean, it's good enough to do what you want it to do, and it says lifespan of 50,000 hours. Now I assume that's the rating of the LEDs, not necessarily the lifetime of the battery, because if you ran the battery for 50,000 hours worth of light, charging it, using it, charging it, using it, you would probably have to replace it long before 50,000 hours. But the battery should be pretty cheap because it's only a small lead acid battery. So I'll bring the camera closer and we'll open this thing up and take a look at how it works. So let's take a closer look at the light. You can see right now I have it plugged into the AC and it's switched on. If there's a power cut, the light will come on automatically. You also have the option of switching it off, and then even if there's a power cut it won't come on. I'm not really sure what the point of that is, but there you go, that is an option. Now you can see when it's plugged into AC, this power light does turn on. I don't know how easily you can see that on camera, but there you go. What it also has is a test button, so you hold down the test button and the lights come on. That just lets you check that everything is working as it should without having to unplug it from the AC, because a lot of the times these will be wired in permanently, so you can't just unplug it. So I'm going to unplug this, turn it off, and we're going to take a look around the unit and open it up. So around the back here, you'll see it's got 2 of these holes for mounting it on screws. Yet again, NXLED don't include the screws in the box. I don't understand that. Same with the other products, they never seem to include the screws, the mounting screws. I wish they would. I mean, how much can it cost for a couple of screws? Anyway, on the back here, you can see the warranty sticker. You can see the details of this specific emergency light, and then 4 screws that keep the back on. And they put the warranty sticker over 1 screw. Now that kind of annoys me, because if you open this up to replace the battery, I don't think you should lose your warranty for that. But anyway, let's open this up. You can see that I haven't yet broken the warranty seal, but I did actually have a little look inside, and I'll show you how. So once you undo 3 screws, you can actually lift it up. If you put a screwdriver in here, you can kind of, bit tricky, there you go, you lift it up and then you can have a look inside like this, and there you go. You can even, like, if you're careful, you can lift it up at this end as well and kind of turn it, but you do risk breaking the plastic around this screw. Now I'm fairly confident in this, so I'm going to break my warranty sticker and just remove the screw. So let's remove this back case. And there you go. You can see straight away that most of the inside is consumed by the actual battery, and it is a pretty big battery. Branded Anbor, which I've not heard of before, but it does say 4 volts, 4 amp hours. So let's remove the bracket that's holding the battery in place. So that's the bracket removed, which should hopefully allow us to remove the battery. There you go. Now you can see that they have used little connectors here, so it should be pretty easy to remove these. There you go. And that's how simple it would be to replace the battery. You would just unclip those, put in a new battery, and then clip them back on, provided you could actually find a replacement battery, since these 4 volt 4 amp hour batteries aren't very common at the moment in the Philippines. And of course here we can see where it goes into our LEDs. These are movable. You know, you can shape them around and twist them and everything like that, so that's fine. These are obviously just their power wires, and then here we have our main circuit board, which handles the test button, the on-off switch, and obviously performs the charging. So let's have a look at what's going on. We have our AC wire coming in here. It does seem to be secured. Let's try to tug that. Yep, you can see that even if you pull that, it's probably not going to rip out the wire. Here we've got a capacitor for our mains input. We've got 4 diodes, which I assume is a full bridge rectifier. We have a resistor here, mains resistor 5 watts, which is probably what they're using for charging the battery, and then some miscellaneous transistors, a few diodes and resistors, nothing much really. So although there's not much to actually see here, it is nice to see how easy it is to replace the battery. So I'll reassemble this and then we'll take a look at the front. We'll remove this so we can look at the LEDs. So one thing you'll notice when you look through here is that there's a number of LEDs, there's not just one. So not only do we have this special lens which helps distribute light, but inside we've also got many small LEDs. So I'm going to try to take one of these caps off and then we'll have a look inside. Now I want to be careful not to scratch this if possible. There we go. Okay, so it looks a little bit different from what I was expecting. I thought they were much smaller than that, but they're actually quite large LEDs. You can see you can lift that up completely. There's nothing on the back, just basically plastic, and 2 wires are coming straight in. So that's actually a little bit different from what I was expecting to see, but as you can tell there are a number of small LEDs there, and that's how they get a good distribution of light along with this, obviously this lens here, and it does work very well. It distributes the light extremely well in a very wide angle. So yeah, that's what it looks like inside. Let's get this back together and then do some measurements of its consumption. So that just pushes back in there and that seems to be secure. Now one thing to remember is that even when these are fully charged, as long as you have them plugged in, they're still consuming a small amount of power. So I have my watt meter here and we're going to test out exactly how much power it consumes. So let's turn this on as if it's a real world scenario and then plug it into the AC. So let's see how much power it actually starts to consume. So we're around 1 watt at the moment, 2 watts, 2.3 watts, 2.4. That's not too bad because, like I say, even if this is fully charged, it's still going to be pulling a load from the AC side, although a very small amount. So it seems pretty steady around 2.3, 2.4 watts. So there you go, that's pretty reasonable. If you look at those UPS units, the small ones that have a 12 volt 7 amp hour battery, most of those actually consume around 10 watts, even when they're fully charged. So 2.5 watts or under 2.5 watts seems pretty good for this. And of course, some people are going to wonder how much light this thing actually produces, like what you can see. So right now it's turned off, and I'll just turn it on. And now you can see the difference. Now it's hard to capture on camera because the camera tries to adjust based on the amount of light it has. But I can tell you that looking at the camera screen, this seems pretty much accurate to what I'm seeing with my eyes. It's fairly easy to move around. I can see, you know, pretty bright. Of course, if I turned on a main light, there would be no comparison at all. But as an emergency light, it works very, very well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm actually really impressed with this. When I compare it with some other ones, and I will be making videos about those other ones, this is my favorite. And I do actually intend to modify this. I'm going to put a switch in here so I can turn one of these LEDs on or off, depending on whether I want full brightness or just half brightness. I don't really know why they haven't added the switch, because it literally is as simple as installing a switch, cutting the wire, you know, a slight rewire, and then you can have the option of having one on or both on. Anyway, you know, NXLED, they're meant to be a sister company of Akari, but when you look at the Akari products, they're more expensive and the quality's worse. I looked at one of the Akari emergency lights, and the sticker on it was all wonky, the buttons didn't really work, and I thought, how come their NXLED brand is so good and the Akari brand is so bad when they're meant to be sister companies? I don't know, but for me, I'm really enjoying NXLED products at the moment. So if you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe for future videos, including future reviews of other emergency lights. And you can follow me on Twitter at YTGadgetAddict. Thanks for watching.